Do we have the live stream up and running?
Yes, it's going.
Okay, perfect. All right. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of February 14th, 2022. Due to COVID-19, this meeting is being held electronically and members of the council are participating remotely pursuant to the council's electronic participation policy. Public access to the meeting is available on the Local Government Access Channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers and on the city's YouTube channel online. Public access is also available by telephone by utilizing the call-in numbers posted on the meeting's agenda. All callers will be muted and may only comment during the times allotted for public comment as indicated on the agenda. If you are on the phone line waiting to speak to council and are also watching the meeting on YouTube or Channel 8, please know there are a couple of seconds of delay with the live stream. Please turn down your computer or TV volume as we approach the sections of the agenda reserved for public invited to be heard so you can hear the council meeting on the phone line and also to prevent background noise when you are unmuted to speak. Those calling in and wishing to speak to council may text 303-450-8757 to sign up to provide public comment. Please note that you must connect to the City Council meeting by calling the separate call-in number listed on the agenda. If you prefer not to text your name to the clerk, please speak up and indicate your desire to provide public comment when prompted at appropriate times. Once you have been recognized, state your name and address and provide your comments to the council. Thank you all for following these directions in maintaining meeting decorum tonight. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy will be joining shortly. Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Present.
Councilmember Walker.
Present.
Councilmember Whitkovich.
Here.
Councilmember Brown will be absent. Councilmember Jaramillo.
Here.
Councilmember Duran Malika.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Lukman Haramasa.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, will you please stand as you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, City Manager Geyer, are there any responses to citizen inquiry?
Nothing this evening, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Okay. All right. Well, we'll move into proclamations. The first proclamation we have this evening is for American Heart Month, and it reads, whereas heart disease is a leading cause of death in the United States, claiming the lives of more than 650,000 people each year, and whereas every 39 seconds, someone in the United States dies from heart disease, it is the #1 killer of women, causing 1 in 3 deaths each year. And whereas heart disease continues to be the leading cause of death worldwide, taking more lives than all forms of cancer combined. And whereas the American Heart Association encourages people to learn their family medical history and to take control of their heart health by knowing and managing these 5 numbers: total cholesterol, HDL good, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, and body mass index, BMI, in order to live healthier lives. And whereas some risk factors are unchangeable, most are avoidable with behavior modification and lifestyle changes, and keeping our community's residents healthy and promoting awareness of heart disease is important. And whereas American Heart Month reinforces the importance of heart health and the need for more research while bringing awareness to ways we can help reduce our risks, such as adopting a healthy lifestyle, maintaining a healthy weight, and striving for regular physical activity each week. Therefore, I, Jenny Wilford, filling in for Mayor Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, do hereby proclaim February 22nd as American Heart Month in the city of Northglenn and urge all individuals to take decisive action to control their health and support and motivate friends and family members in their efforts to improve cardiovascular health and prevent heart disease. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 14th day of February 2022. I can't think of a better proclamation to have on Valentine's Day. And with that, I want to turn it over to Jennifer Dawson, who is here, I believe, let me see, I'm just pulling all of this information up with Northglenn Health and Fitness. So Jennifer, I'll turn it over to you to talk a little bit about Northglenn Health and Fitness and American Heart Month.
Sure, thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me here tonight to accept this proclamation to recognize American Heart Month. My name is, like you said, Jennifer Dawson, and my husband and I opened Northglenn Health and Fitness in 2019. We are blessed to be a part of the Northglenn community, for sure. We are especially thankful that you're recognizing American Heart Month, since our goal is to coach people in lifestyle change through behavior modification. And the last thing I wanted to mention, as you mentioned, heart disease is the #1 killer of women, and we are proud to say that 79% of our clients at Northglenn Health and Fitness are women. 65% of those women are over 40. So on behalf of me and all of our wonderful clients, thank you for recognizing American Heart Month and the importance of preventing heart disease in our country. Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us this evening, Jennifer. I see that Mayor Leidy has joined us, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to her and say welcome.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I just got off a plane safely and made it home, so I apologize for being a few minutes late. Thank you. It looks like we are on Black History Month proclamation. Is that correct? Great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to read the proclamation. We have Deja Moore, Cheryl Huffman, Celeste Jackson, Sarah Woodson, Rayana Blackman, members of our Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board are here. And I will share my screen. Okay. Whereas the Northglenn City Council takes pride in recognizing February as Black History Month, celebrating the many notable contributions that people of African descent have made to our country. And whereas we celebrate the diversity of Black people in our community, our nation, and the Black, that is a new word for me, diaspora. I'm going to ask our city clerk, could you pronounce that word for me?
Diaspora is correct.
Diaspora, thank you. I'm going to look that one up. Whether they self-identify as African, African-American, Afro-Latino, Afro-Caribbean, or Black. And whereas we recognize this year's Black American History Month theme of Black health and wellness, focusing on how American healthcare has often underserved the African-American community. We acknowledge that systemic racism has led to African-Americans being more likely to die at an early age from all causes and be impacted by healthcare inequities that have traumatized the Black community. And whereas we now celebrate Black health and wellness, including the legacy of Black scholars, midwives, nurses, doctors, and practitioners of not only Western medicine, but all other Indigenous ways of promoting health and healing. And whereas we uplift our community leaders, Black business owners, professionals, and others who promote well-being and knowledge throughout the many facets of the Black community and our whole inclusive community. And whereas each Black individual has a unique mind, body, and soul, which deserves to be healthy, well, and treated with respect and empathy. The observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. And whereas the City of Northglenn celebrates diversity, is committed to advancing racial justice and equity, and is proud to honor the history and contributions of African Americans today, tomorrow, and every day. Now, therefore, I, Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, do hereby proclaim February 2022 as Black History Month in the city of Northglenn and ask all community members, public officials, and educators to discover, teach, appreciate, and commemorate the history of African Americans during this month of celebration and beyond. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 14th day of February, 2022. Thank you. So are there any, I see Deja, thank you for being with us. If there's anybody else on the dice board that wants to accept this proclamation with a few words, we would love to have you speak.
Yeah, Mayor Leidy, I can go ahead and accept the proclamation from you, as well as our council members. I just want to thank you all so much for honoring Black History Month. It really is a privilege to be here, especially as an Afro-Hispanic trans woman of color accepting this. And I think it's so important just in our 21st century that we continue to really honor our Black folks in Northglenn and continue to show the history of where we started and where we are today and where we're going to go. So thank you so much, and I hope we continue these efforts.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. We've been seeing a lot of you lately. I think it's great. Okay, we are now moving into public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item that is not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Joanna, has anyone signed up to speak to council?
I have one voicemail, but nobody else signed up at this point.
Okay.
Okay. So I will play the voicemail from Mark Bromley.
Okay.
Thank you, City Council. I'm Mark Bromley. I approve this message. I'm glad to see city law prevailed, and finally the council did follow the rules in accepting new business into the city of Northglenn. I know 4 toxic elements of the council wanted to cruelly control, abuse, dictate, and manipulate the city licensing processes for businesses. The city of Northglenn needs as many lawful and job-producing businesses as it can get after that messed up and incorrectly handling of COVID-19 shutdowns that neglected and abused the hardworking people of the community by insurrectionist Democrat politics. City of Northglenn could do without 4 toxic council members being so hateful and cruel. Hopefully in 2023, we can remove these 3 of these toxic city council elements. I do see the distractions are still on the rise, for there was a sculpture project offered over a 3-week period in Northglenn. The project was short notice and only partisan artists would have been informed ahead of time. It's interesting how the arts program in Northglenn only services entitled and privileged Democrat-aligned individuals. I'm an artist too. Apparently Northglenn refuses to help artists in poverty. And for me to make a 4-foot-high sculpture would require at least 2 months notice and initial investment of capital for acquiring raw resources, especially for time-consuming bronze casting processes and access to a kiln. I found this city call for sculptures very exclusive and designed only to pay partisan political Democrat artists who already knew of the project in advance. This is the same problem with how projects are bid in Northglenn and Colorado. Partisan Democrat companies are preferred and given insider information, while others are left in the dark with very little information to compete for scarcity of resources here in Northglenn. Then again, the Democrats are self-serving and cruelly selfish in Northglenn, for they have always oppressed the poor and hated the poor, keep making the disadvantaged even more disadvantaged. Democrats are hypocrites here in Northglenn. I also do not approve of the indoctrination the Democrats on council are using to inappropriately dictate who fills board commissions and youth councils with CRT agenda nonsense. Like last week and this week. Seriously, do you on the city council think teenagers really understand the gay community initiatives? They do not know what that is, and they are often not old enough for the NAMBLA elements on our city council and the NAMBLA Democrats pushing these disgusting policies in our public schools, or even on our city councils. Shame on you, city council, for corrupting the youth and those children you are abusing on the youth council with your partisan false narrative indoctrination. Like I said before, some of you with education backgrounds have on multiple instances been reprimanded by your school superintendent. Considering your school superintendent was quite frank and open about these means, there is a real liability for having you on the city council. Thank you, City Council. I hope we can get rid of 4 toxic elements in the near future for the sake of the city of Northglenn.
Okay, Joanna, is anyone next?
I don't have anybody signed up. I'm not sure if there's anyone on the phone line who would like to speak. If so, they can press *6 to unmute themselves.
I do see someone has joined us. Camille, is that correct? Are you here for public invited to be heard?
No, Mayor, I'm part of the new board.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Cooperative.
Got it.
Community. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
I saw you popped in. I wasn't sure. Yeah, it's a little spotty. Okay. Thank you. Well, if anyone is on the phone who would like to speak to council, you can press *6 to unmute at this time. Okay. All right. Moving into mayor and council communications, we'll start with Ward 1. Councilmember Witkovich, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Mayor. A few updates from me. On February 7th, I attended my first meeting of the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council as a new director. Very interesting meetings, lots of great information. Thankfully, Shelley Stanley with the City of Northglenn also attends. She's our alternate member, and she is very knowledgeable about all things Rocky Flats, and she asked some great questions. And let's see, we had the DOE's quarterly presentation, so we'll get that 4 times a year, just pretty much about the status of the Rocky Flats area, including the wildlife refuge. Nothing to note that's concerning. So that's great. And also, I guess we will be getting our oath of office sent via email to all the new directors. And so we also had a short introduction of all the new directors. There's lots of new folks on there. And Mayor Jan Coleman took the place of Joyce Downing as the chair of that council. So I look forward to our next meeting, and I'm going to have a tour of the Woman Creek Reservoir here in a couple weeks too, to kind of orient myself. So looking forward to that. On February 8th, I attended the Historic Preservation Commission, and we did a quick revisit of the strategic plan just to see where we are, getting lots of great things done. They did want me to mention, as we're discussing our new our new city hall, they have a couple items, and they thought it would be really cool if it could be incorporated into the new building. And that consists of an old door and also the old sign from the Garland Center. I'm sorry if you guys hear a dog in the background. Apologies. One more quick update. On February 10th, I attended the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. They had their annual, let's see, what's it called? Public hearing for recreation programming. There were no comments received during that meeting, during that formal opportunity, but the Parks and Rec Advisory Board is always accepting input, literally at any time. So you can reach out to the Parks and Rec department or any of your council members. There was also a donation request from Rupa. She came and attended our meeting, and it was on behalf of the mosque. They had requested 20 punch card passes for the expected 540 individuals arriving in Northglenn through the refugee program. So the board unanimously approved that. So there's no cost associated with that. We're just going to essentially donate those punch cards, and any of those families who want to use them can do so. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Walker?
No updates tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Tomorrow, the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation will be hosting our Art on Parade committee, 5:30 in Parsons Theater. So if anybody else listening would like to join, please contact Michael Stricker. He's an employee here with Northglenn, and he's the director of the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation, and he'll help direct you to be registered for that selection committee. And it's really awesome because you get to choose or have a word in which sculptures that we'll have here in Northglenn. So that'd be great if you guys could turn out for that. And so I also had my first meeting with as city council liaison with Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation, and we have plenty of great performing arts, including Cleo Parker Robinson ensemble will be there for Black History Month. We also have a performance for South Asia cultural performance, and we also had a talent show. So a lot of great stuff happening there at the Parsons Theater, and we hope you can make it out there and enjoy all the great programming that Northglenn is providing.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. I did attend a couple of things since we last met. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor and all the staff, everyone who helped plan our team building event on February 5th, because it was a lot of fun. And also, I think we generated some really great ideas for the future of Northglenn. So look forward to, making some of those come into reality. And then on February 10th, I don't know why everything always happens on the same day, but I had 3 different meetings on February 10th. So I did an economic development workshop as the Adams County Regional Economic, I don't remember what the P stands for, programming or something. But anyway, I went to this workshop because I needed a kind of a refresher on what economic development looks like in Northglenn and in Adams County. And then I had the CC4CA had a policy meeting, and I've just been kind of sitting in on those to kind of learn a little bit more about what's going on. And they, they are working on strategies for their 3 to 5 year goals. And they also discussed events for 2022. There was quite a long list of things that they have planned for this coming year. And then the last thing I did was the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board officers meeting was also that evening, and that was to plan for our meeting next week. And that is it.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Duran Malika?
All right. So I have a couple things that I wanted to talk about. And first of them is actually a request. And this is a letter, and Heather, you're going to have to help me work through the process of this. But what I'm talking about is a letter of, response or feedback to RTD regarding their system optimization plan that they just released. So they actually extended the feedback period to March 9th. And I think this is great because it gives us the ability to have a response as a city. And so Brooke has been great and pulled together some talking points. And really, there's not much that has changed for Northglenn, which also means that we're going to continue the same inadequate service that we've been receiving from RTD until 2027. So, I don't know if you want me to talk through all the talking points that Brooke talked about, or if Heather, you want to send out a draft of a letter to the group to just get kind of approval from the team. But essentially, the changes that happened in the last SOP are continuing. So especially for some of those areas where there's a lot of multifamily housing, those folks are just going to have to continue to walk. There's to some of our bus stops to get the service that they need. And so really, it's status quo essentially with this new operations plan. So Heather, I'm not sure what else you need from me or council to submit a letter on behalf of us. But
yeah, if I could just, oh, sorry, go ahead, Julie.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. If I could just get consensus from council that you support submitting a letter under the extended public comment period, and then I'll email the letter out to council, and that way you can review it, and we'll give you a hard deadline of when to get us feedback, and then we'll send it off.
Sounds good.
Okay. Looks like.
Okay, cool.
Okay, great.
Awesome. All right. Great. Thank you so much. So a couple other things that I had that I wanted to talk about is that there is an I-25 and 84th subgroup meeting again that I'm attending this Friday. Again, this is a subgroup under NADA where we're going to continue to talk about I-25 and that area between 84th and 104th and the safety issues there. We want to get some CDOT. We want CDOT to do something about it, essentially. And so having a conversation with them on Friday is going to be really huge. That's the big next step we have in that project. Some good news is that last week on the DRCOG nominating committee, I was chosen, where they're going to put forth my name to be one of the DRCOG representatives for the Front Range Passenger Rail District Board. So I'm really excited about that. You know, passenger rail is something that, you know, the Front Range has been talking about for a really long time, ever since Fast Track was passed. And so the new rail board is going to be forming here in a couple months. And it looks like if everything goes smooth sailing on Wednesday's meeting, I get to have one of those seats. So I'm really excited to advocate for the region for passenger rail. Another thing I wanted to chat about, so I did get a resident inquiry about the Tri-County Health Department, and I just wanted to kind of clear up some things real quick. So as some folks probably know, I am the co-chair for the Tri-County Health Department Board of Health. I do want to clarify this is not a position I hold through the city. This is an appointment that I hold through Adams County. And with that, the way that our public health, I guess, governance structure is set up here in the state of Colorado, it's all done through Adams County. So therefore, you know, none of us have any influence or say in how the new health department is going to be staffed or how it's going to be functioned. It's really resting in the hands of the Adams County Commissioner. So if you have thoughts, questions, concerns about the Board of Health or what Tri-County Health Department looks like, or the future health department looks like in Adams County, definitely reach out to one of our 5 commissioners. They are the people to go to for that. And then finally, my last update is just a heads up. It is a little early, but I figured why not. We are having a Ward 3 meeting on March 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Justice Center. And this is going to be a really important meeting for us. So Catherine and I have decided to really focus on public safety. And so we're going to be talking about crime statistics. We're going to be talking about recent crimes in Northglenn and the PD response. Of course, we're talking about traffic, as well as the Northglenn Police Department perspective on the temporary winter housing at the Old Rec Center. So definitely come out and join us if you can. We are going to be having some food and some other snacks, and it's a Wednesday night, so it'll be fun to come and hang out with us at the Justice Center. So that's it for me. Thanks.
That's awesome. Julie, can I jump in? I have a question because I appreciate your clarification of your role on Tri-County. But I believe we all received that letter from Dr. Douglas this week. And
we did.
Yeah. And so that was, I think, concerning for everybody. I mean, when I looked at the email, there were like 98 people on it, I think. So, so again, your recommendation is reaching out to the commissioners.
Exactly. So just the way that the governance structure is set up here by statute in the state of Colorado, the commissioners are in charge of setting up the new public health department in what that transition looks like entirely. So I guess, you know, in some cases, unfortunately, local elected leaders don't have a say in what our public health department looks like, but you know, we do have the ability to reach out to our county commissioners and express our concerns or thoughts or desires and how best to meet the public health needs of our residents. So that's what I would recommend.
And I believe, Heather, did we ever firm up a date for the AdCog meeting?
Not yet. We're still working on it. So it'll be a different date than that April 6th date because we do have another meeting conflict. So I'll get that out to all of you, or Rupe will send it out as soon as we have that ready for you.
Okay, so for residents, that's the Adams County Council of Governments. It's a meeting that we have with everybody in order to get information in a timely manner. And our hope is to get some information about the health department transition. Okay, well, thank you. All right, Councilmember Lubin Hiramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a few things to update everyone on. On February 1st, I attended my first youth commission meeting, and I just have to say those kids are, what an amazing group of kids. They have really got their stuff together. They were so professional, so organized, so I'm just gonna give them a great shout out. Jessica Hulse was a guest, so it was really wonderful to hear the kind of questions that they posed to her and where they're coming from, which is truly to understand how they can help as the Youth Commission. So that was very exciting. They're working on a few things, a lot to do with upcoming Pride events and trying to get involved with that, and LGBTQIA plus volunteer opportunities, easy for me to say. So they're very involved, and it was just kind of a get to know them meeting for me and see how amazing they are. So I'm looking forward to working with them. I also enjoyed our council retreat, and thank you to staff. That was a lot of fun. It was wonderful. And I am so impressed by my fellow council members and all the great ideas. So can't wait until we discuss that again. On February 8th, I attended the CCPP reset meeting, and it was just that. The entire meeting was having Monica from the Equity Project lead everyone through just discussions on communication and what they wanted to see and how they can kind of refocus their purpose and come together around that. So I thought that went really well, and looking forward to digging deep into the work as we come up in the upcoming months. On February 9th, I attended my first Business Retention and Expansion Committee meeting, and that was wonderful. I think I'm really going to enjoy being on that committee as a business owner. I could definitely relate to a lot of the incredible work that this committee has put into our city, and I'm really looking forward to being engaged and being a part of supporting our businesses. So they did a lot in 2021, and our next meeting will be talking about goals for 2022, but extremely impressive. A lot of support for our small businesses. And then let's see, last but not least, I attended my first legislative committee. So please bear with me as I try to report on this for the first time. Mayor Pro Tem Wolfer definitely had my back as I tried to facilitate that meeting. So I'll lean on her for support if I need to. But there was a lot of discussion on a couple of the bills that we had taken stances on, but it's still in appropriations. There's still a lot of information that's needed. So I'll update, or whoever else will update next time as we get more information on that. But I had heard the word kratom. All of us were saying it wrong. Kratom, I think. So that's something we'll probably keep an eye on. It's Senate Bill 120, and I guess kratom, and I'm probably saying it wrong. It's the first time I've heard it, is some type of opioid, which could possibly need to be regulated like marijuana. So that's something that we'll probably need to keep an eye on as that progresses through the process. We talked about House Bill 1138, which is an E-Trip bill. And the title of that is Reduce Employee Single Occupancy Vehicle Trips. And we decided to monitor that because there's still a lot of information that's uncertain, because the wording is that it's voluntary, but it's also a mandate. So if you have less than 100 employees, it's voluntary, but if you have more than 100 employees, it's mandatory. And it's incentives for individuals to use alternate transportation. So, things like daily parking fees or bicycle racks, ride sharing, stuff that we don't do too much of right now in the city. So, and things that should fall on local government, in our opinion. So, CML does oppose that one, but at this point, we are not taking any stance on it and just monitoring it until we get more information. House Bill 1152 is one that we actually discussed in length, and that is prohibit employer adverse action marijuana use. So it prohibits an employer from taking adverse action against an employee, including an applicant for employment, who engages in the use of medical marijuana on the premises of the employer during working hours, or retail or medical marijuana off the premises of the employer during non-working hours. So after much discussion, there was too much liability to take a supportive stance on that bill in terms of things that can happen off duty, and no specificity when it comes to law enforcement officers, CDL officers. It could be a conflict between state and federal law. So overall, there were just too many unknowns and too many opportunities for liability. So we took an opposing stance on that one. The next one was 1196, which is the pay equity study. And we took no position on that one. So the information on that is equal pay for studies, I guess, for equal equity studies for state employees. And the city already does quite a bit in terms of that. We have the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act and new procedures for hiring and so forth. So at this point, we're just going to take no position on that bill. The other one we discussed a little was the House Bill 1159. And if I can find the title of that, I will give it to you. But it is a producer responsibility recycling bill. And so the funding would come from waste producers. Some businesses that support it are actually like soft drink manufacturers, because the bottle bill is something that they don't like. There's some issues with that in terms of like local farmers, and would they be responsible for some of those fees if their their farm is advertised in a local grocery store. So there's some problems with the bill as it stands right now. So we just decided to monitor that and wait until we get more information. And I believe that is it in terms of bills that we took a stance on. As I mentioned before, we did discuss others, but at this point, there's just too much information still coming through, and we're going to wait until we get more information to take any other stances on other bills. And we do have our Ward 4 meetings set for the next year, and I will let Mayor Pro Tem fill everyone in on that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Well done. Well done on your first one. Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That was a perfect segue, Councilmember Lubin Hiromasa. So we have Councilmember Lubin Hiromasa and I met last week and decided to schedule all of our ward meetings now so that everybody would know at the beginning of the year when they could join us. So mark your calendars. Our first ward meeting of 2022 is scheduled for Thursday, March 31st. At the rec center. We are hoping to have a light dinner. So feel free to come along and bring family. And similar to Ward 3, we're also going to be focusing on public safety as our first meeting of the year. After that, our following meeting will be May 17th, which is a Tuesday. And then we'll kick it over to August 25th, and we'll be having the food and the music and I think it's the grub and the groove and the government in the park. So that should be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to having everybody out at Dan Hay Park, and then we'll wrap up the year with a ward meeting on November 19th and try out a Saturday. So my fingers are crossed for breakfast burritos, but we'll see. We're still out a ways on that one. So thanks to Shannon as well as to Diana for all of the help getting those calendared and getting them teed up so that we can have as many opportunities to interact with our residents as possible this year. Secondly, I wanted to highlight that I unfortunately won't be able to attend our special meeting on Wednesday evening, and so wanted to give you all a heads up there. My husband bought me concert tickets for Christmas, and I'm really looking forward to that concert. And it's not something that you can just like move around, unfortunately. So just wanted to give you all a bit of context for why I was going to be missing that. And then the other thing I wanted to say was just thank you to Mayor Leidy, to staff and to council for such a fun retreat. It was virtual, but I mean, between making salsa and ideating, I mean, I felt like we got a lot of really good team building in, a lot of great ideas out. And I just feel really excited about the direction that we're going as a city and the way that we're working together as a group. So I look forward to us all continuing to build upon that and letting some of those ideas simmer. Mayor Leidy, well done. But thanks again for all of that work, because I know that you put a lot of thought into what that process and that day would look like. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was going to start by talking about the retreat too. It was so much fun. And I just, for residents to understand, it was a good 4 hours of quality time together, really doing some good thinking. And I left super energized and excited about the direction that we're going. So that was really fun. I have a couple of things. Our Metro Mayor's Caucus had their retreat, which was not as much fun as ours, but did kind of organize us and get us ready for the work that we were going to be doing. I will still serve on the executive committee, but I'm also on the Circle committee. And none of us remember what Circle is an acronym for, but it is all about sustainability. So I'm really excited to be on that committee. So let's see here. Oh, I did the coolest thing last week, and I could not wait to tell you about it. So Ramos Law is in Northglenn, and they have started a podcast. And if you haven't found it, it's on Spotify, and it's called the Ramos Law Difference Makers podcast. And they interviewed me. I've never done a podcast before. So I was invited over there, and I sat down for almost an hour, with Dr. Jim Hoven, and it was great. Mine is not up yet, but I looked, and I have enjoyed so many of his interviews. He is doing such a good job, but it is really a podcast that I recommend. It's all about, difference makers is the title, but he'll have some pieces around health and wellness, and it's just, I recommend it. So I was honored and completely humbled to be invited to be on it. And that was my first ever podcast interview. So that was fun. And then at risk of giving attention to something that I don't think deserves attention, I wanted to invite a conversation. So Mark Bromley has been commenting in Public Invited to be Heard, meeting after meeting. And I'm growing concerned because there's a lot of insinuations. Sometimes they are direct false accusations with names of council members. Sometimes they're veiled by discussing the person's job outside of council. What I wanted to offer to the rest of the residents is that if you hear anything, because I believe this is going to continue, if you hear anything that you're wondering about, curious about, reach out to any of us, give us a call. Everyone on council is available to residents. We are here for residents. We are responsive to residents. So if you hear something concerning, if you watch a council meeting later and you go, wow, what was that? What did he mean by that? What was that regarding? give us a call and we'll help bring the truth to that conversation. My fear is that some of these statements are made and then there could be this, assumption of truth that just because it was stated that it's factual. It's clearly getting heated. It's clearly becoming more political, and it seems to be related to party, but we know, the 9 of us in this room, our municipal government and the decisions that we make don't surround partisan politics. So we make decisions about our city. We're talking about parks. We're talking about roads. We're talking about services for you. And so this is not the professional discourse that the 9 of us pride ourselves in. So that's my concern. And week after week, I don't say anything. And it's starting to just feel icky. It's feeling like if I don't address it, then I'm condoning it. And so I wanted our residents to understand that I don't. And it's very disheartening because I wish we could have professional discourse. So that is my final thing. How are we, City Clerk Small?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have one quick item, and it is regarding the Adams County Clerk and Recorder's I Voted sticker contest. They are currently seeking the public's input to help decide the winners for the sticker contest. And with the winning designs will be used in the upcoming primary election in June and then in the general election this November. And the winning design of the Spanish category will be available at both elections at the voter service and polling centers. So voting closes this Thursday, February 17th. Everybody can view the submissions. The easiest way is to hop on the Adams County Clerk and Recorder's Facebook page or their Twitter page, and they have links that take you to a SurveyMonkey where you can vote for your favorites. And I looked at them last week and there were over 40 entries in total, which was super cool. So I would just encourage everybody to check those out and help the county decide which stickers should be used at this year's elections. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. City Attorney Hoffman, how are you?
I'm doing well, Madam Mayor. How are you?
Good.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. City Manager Geyer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. One item for you this evening, more of a heads up. Councilmember Duran Mollica had mentioned that public safety is going to be a topic at the Ward 3 meeting that's upcoming. One of Council's requests for a discussion item was on the increased crime that residents are experiencing in the city. So we plan to bring the police department, Diana, Wilson, our communications director, myself, we plan to bring this item back to you on February 28th as a discussion item pre the start of ward meetings that you've heard that are gearing up in March, so that you'll have an opportunity to provide some input, hear the data yourselves, and wrap your heads around what we're seeing in terms of crime trends. And so I'd offer this in part that any residents listening, feel free to tune in on February 28th. That'll be a discussion item towards the end of the regular council meeting. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, we are ready for our Director of Finance, Jason Loveland. He is here with the December 2021 report. Hi, Jason, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good evening, Mayor and Council. All right. So this is the fourth quarter update, and it really is going to encompass the entire year rolled into this report. I'll start off with an update on sales and use tax on the next slide. Really amazing revenue numbers on sales and use tax in 2021. The year-to-date collections were $27.8 million. That's up over 20% compared to the prior year. A couple of things to point out with that revenue number for sales and use tax. The auto use tax, I've been talking about that for most of the year. That ended up being over up over 27%. Food tax was up 2%, and then marijuana tax was up over 8%. Most all of the geographic area revenues for sales and use tax were up throughout the city. Leading the way in that category was actually the Northglenn Greens area, which is Applebee's, Best Buy, down there at 104th. That was up 54% compared to the prior year. City Center, which is the Boondocks area, Webster Lake Promenade, that was up about 57% on the year. So all in all, the geographic areas performed quite well compared to the prior year. Going back 2 years, which was kind of a more normalized year in 2019, those same geographic areas were up 3.5% compared to 2 years ago, which is positive coming from the uncertainties of the pandemic. So we're happy to report that information. Another key piece I wanted to comment on sales and use tax is the out-of-state sales and use tax collection. So that's going to be Amazon, eBay, BestBuy.com, all of the businesses that are outside of Colorado and that are reporting sales tax. Those are up 50%. Those areas, 50% from 2020, and then up over 200% from 2019. So we took action in early 2021 on the marketplace facilitator ordinance, which was really guided by some legislation to kind of simplify the sales tax reporting, and then to identify, that those online retailers needed to be remitting sales tax. I think that it's clear, seeing those kind of numbers and those trends, that has paid dividends to the city. For instance, that's gone up to $3.8 million as an area outside of the city or outside of the state, sales and use tax collections versus $1.8 million just a couple of years ago. So we're seeing trends in sales and use tax that are positive. On this chart, more specifically, you can see on the left-hand side, the dark blue line kind of rises to the top after kind of a normal start in January. And you can see that kind of just glide and stay greater than not only 2020, which is the orange line that kind of hovers at the bottom, but much higher revenue in sales and use tax than the city has seen at any point in its history. So I just wanted to report out on that positive revenue information for sales and use tax. Moving on to touch on the various funds. Here, the general fund, take a look at 2021 budget for revenue of $26.9 million. And then year-to-date revenue through December of $31.9 million. So almost a $5 million, 18% beating of projections, which is always a good thing on the revenue line item. A couple of things here, we've talked about it for several months now. The one-time revenue from Carl's Farm development through the various building material use taxes. And then in the permitting line item, you'll see some growth there. Both of those are one-time in nature, but total about $1.8 million. So still, even there, backing up those numbers out, we really beat projections on the revenue side of things, which is fantastic. On the expenditures, you'll see that total expenditures, we spent 99.9% of what we had budgeted on the operations side of things. Other financing uses and sources were actually over budget by couple $100,000. One thing that we'll be bringing back at our next meeting is a supplemental appropriation specifically associated with the relational shared expenditures that we show for Safe Built. With building permits, those revenues go up and we share that expenditure with Safe Built. We show it as revenue coming in and then their shared portion of that service. That was over budget by $450,000. That specifically is a positive because we had the offsetting revenue coming in to offset that expenditure. However, we are showing that the total budget was overspent by $282,000. So we'll bring a supplemental. We've been talking about that for several months now. We expected to need to bring that forward. We were just waiting until year end, until all the numbers were final to bring back one number to make that budget adjustment for. So we'll bring that back in a couple of weeks. Overall, net change in fund balance, you'll see in the middle column there, an increase to fund balance of about $4 million. These are unaudited numbers. We'll be continuing to scroll through the details of these numbers, go through our audit process to get that official number, but pretty confident in these numbers that the addition to general fund balance will be roughly $4 million. Moving to the next fund, the Conservation Trust Fund. Total revenues, those beat expectations and forecast by $43,000. So total revenue of $461,000 and total expenditures of $58,000. There's a couple of projects in Conservation Trust that didn't get kicked off. One was the Sensory Playground, which is the EB Rains Park Playground, and then the JC Ballfield Lights. So once those get kicked off, those projects in 2022 will catch up. They're just lagging behind for the period of 2021. In the next fund, the Capital Projects Fund, total revenues, again, performed well, $9.1 million and total expenditures of $23 million, with a budget of $42 million total there. Major spending in that Capital Projects Fund, $19.7 million associated with the construction of the Recreation Center, and then another $3.3 million for a residential road program and rehabilitation to the arterials, specifically Washington, were spent. So can kind of account for those two major projects in the capital spending. The other financing uses and sources, the $4.1 million, that's our debt service for the Justice Center and for the Recreation Center. Just for reference, that'll be an annual cost that we don't necessarily touch on. We know about, but we don't report on it all that often. So ending fund balance in the Capital Projects Fund of $33 million at the end of 2021. So on the next fund, the Water Fund, you'll see total revenue of $15.1 million, a reasonable amount compared to budget. Again, one-time tax revenue and then user charges and fees for tap fees for the development of Carl's Farm. Operationally, personnel, purchase services, everything kind of fell into play there as budgeted. The capital outlay spending, the big project there was the waste handling improvements, and that project was just getting started, spending about $400,000 of the $3.8 million budget. So as that picks up in 2022, that spending and capital outlay will catch up to itself, just carrying over from one year to the next. So net change in fund balance in the water fund, an increase of $6.3 million. I want to mention that total consumption of water was down 4.3% for the year. So conservation had an impact. Conservation efforts had an impact for the 12 months. The next fund on the wastewater fund, we show a total revenue of $6.3 million and expenditures of just under $22 million. Operationally, all of the categories aligned with budget. User charges and fees, tap fees for the construction at Carl's Farm influenced this line item. If you back those out, revenue numbers were right on target with expectations for the user fees. In that fund, the capital spending, $17.5 million was associated with Lift Station A and the Force Main project that's ongoing. There's about $9 million left on that project that we'll see get wrapped up in 2022. And the next fund, the Stormwater Fund, total revenues $536,000 and expenditures of $367,000. Those align with budget expectations, a little bit greater revenue due to Carl's Farm development and stormwater, one-time fees that are captured there. And then spending on the operating side fell in line with budget, and there were $200,000 of storm drainage improvements put in place and a budget of about $500,000. So fell short of all of those improvements, but some of those improvements aren't planned. They're as they happen, so they're kind of unpredictable. Although we put a budget on the books to capture anything that may come up during the year. And then the last fund on the sanitation fund, total revenues of $1.9 million and expenditures of $1.5 million. The expenditures here are rolled up pretty high as a one line item. And the reason that those expenditures fell short were just the delivery of capital equipment, so garbage trucks that had been ordered. They were not delivered and have not been delivered as of yet for our orders that we placed in 2021. I believe that those should be coming soon, but there's going to be a lag in capturing those expenditures for those vehicles. So I think there's one more slide just to summarize. As I mentioned, sales tax performed super. Total general fund revenues up 8% due to those reasons. And then operationally, budget was aligned. And then some claims and capital spending kind of varied as far as when we'll see those project expenditures kind of hit the books. And a lot of those will happen in 2022 versus what was budgeted in 2021. So with that, happy to talk about anything that's on your minds related to the budget and whatnot.
Got some other stuff, Jason, if you want to talk about that.
I know, I caught myself halfway through that was a leading question, I guess.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel that because Councilmember Brown isn't here, somebody should ask a question of Jason. And I don't really have one. I just wanted to say this looks really good. It's organized and put together really well. I could follow along with it. And it's good news for Northglenn. And I think we're going to continue moving in the right direction. So thank you.
So is the monthly question, what percent is our fund balance or reserve balance? What does she normally ask?
Yeah, she normally asks that question.
That is a great question. So I I will say that, unaudited, we'll finalize numbers, but I would say that the answer for today is 88%.
Wow.
So that's a conversation we will bring back to council.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As we get through this year-end process.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Moving into the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the vote.
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiromasa.
Yes.
The consent agenda passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into resolutions. We will start with CR 47. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Leonard Rice Consulting Engineers Incorporated for aquifer storage and recovery pilot project consulting services.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Kent Kisselman, Director of Public Works, is here to provide a summary. Hi, Kent.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So this is phase 3 of the aquifer storage and recovery project. Phase 1 and 2 verified that this is a viable option for us, for the city to store water. Leonard Rice Consulting worked on phase 2, and they've been selected to complete phase 3. Phase 3 will include the finalizing of all the construction drawings, all the required submitted permitting requirements. They'll prepare the bid documents and assist in our contractor selection, and they'll perform oversight and closeout on the pilot program. The pilot wells themselves will be located just outside of the water treatment facility, to the south, outside of the fence, and then west of our new fence that we just installed. So between the ditch and the fence of the water plant and the ditch, if you can imagine that kind of area. Funds are budgeted from the 22 water fund. This contract is a not to exceed contract of $436,833. And staff recommends approval as presented. And I'll answer any questions you may have. And if I can't answer them, I hope Tamara's on the line.
Any questions for Kent? Councilmember Duran Malika.
Hey, Kent. So, quick question for you. And I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure if this is a valid question or not. But one of the things that I was looking at when I was looking at this item is, so we're looking at doing aquifer storage and recovery pilot. Okay, so one of the things that I saw in here was testing of the water, I believe, as well. And the reason why I'm just kind of curious about that is because I saw an article in the Denver Post, a couple weeks ago or whatever, that was talking about how there's like hazardous forever chemicals in like aquifers and things like that. Does this project include testing of those types of chemicals in general for our city?
I'm going to assume that any kind of water that we get will be tested through our lab, and we have a state certified lab. So any water that we do testing on.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands, so please call the vote.
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiromasa,
Yes.
CR 47 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to CR 48. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution authorizing the use of City Council contingency funds for a donation to the Boulder County Wildfire Fund.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, thank you. City Manager Geyer is here to provide a summary.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this item was brought forward at your request. Staff's recommending that Council consider a donation in the amount of $5,000 from Council contingency funds. There's approximately $50,000 of your contingency funds available this year that can be utilized for this donation. We did include a summary of other municipal donations on page 2 of the staff memorandum. Certainly, if council wanted to do something more, you have the option to do that. You just need to change the amount in the motion this evening. However, based on the information we gathered, staff felt that the $5,000 amount was a good amount, and this funding will go to the Boulder County Foundation and then be dispersed to victims of the Marshall Fire Relief Program. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't see any questions. Joanna, can you call the vote, please?
Mayor Lighty,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa.
Yes.
CR 48 passes unanimously.
Thank you. CR 50. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution appointing the Ward 3 resident member to the Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board of the City of Northglenn, Colorado.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. Rupa Venkatesh is here as our assistant to the city manager to provide a summary. Hi, Rupa.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you. So the Ward 3 vacancy came about on January 17th, and per the ordinance, the Ward 3 council members are responsible for putting forward a name for council consideration. So council members Goff and Duran Mullica, they spent some time looking at the previous applications that was submitted in the first go around and did interviews accordingly. And they selected Camille Lynn to fill the vacancy, and that is what council will be considering tonight. And Camille Lynn is here to give an introduction of herself, and then if council members Goff and Duran Mullica want to add anything, that would be great. So Camille, go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, is my connection any better?
It's still really spotty.
No. What if I stop the video?
That's better.
Is that better now that I've stopped the video?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very excited. I'm sorry my internet is sketchy. But my name's Camille, and this is my first go around in any kind of city government, and I'm very excited. So, thank you.
Councilmember Duran Mullica.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to, I guess, Catherine and myself's process. We did go through our applications again. Camille, great to meet with. We actually met at Panera, and Catherine called in over the phone. We had a great conversation. And I think that she has, a great skill set and personality and overall just passion to serve our community and excited to be on this board. So, we're lucky to have her and thank you for accepting and being willing to serve.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. I just agree with everything that Councilmember Duran Mullica said, but I wanted to add that, everyone who had applied and gave interest or showed interest in working with the CCPP, all had good qualities, or it was really tough to choose. So if, we interviewed you and you weren't chosen, boy, I just want to tell you, we really appreciate your interest. And I hope that you continue to be interested in serving the city, because we have lots of talented and intelligent and creative residents that can contribute. And so thanks to everyone who applied, and welcome to Camille.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Camille. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa?
Yes.
CR 50 passes unanimously.
All right, CR 52. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving a fourth amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Northglenn and Continuum Partners, LLC, regarding a public-private partnership for the implementation of Phase 2 of the Civic Center Master Plan.
Move for approval.
Second.
Excellent. City Manager Geyer will provide a summary.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of Council, this is a fourth extension request before you this evening for the current MOU that is set to expire with Continuum Partners on February 28th. Included in your packet, a couple different pieces that I want to highlight different than prior extensions. Based on council direction, our city attorney and staff worked on development of a detailed timeline that's included as Exhibit 1 to this fourth extension. I'm happy to go through any of those dates if you'd like. A couple that I will highlight for your benefit and that of the public includes that we're striving to and will present to City Council on March 30th the conceptual site plan for the site. So this week, it was mentioned earlier on Wednesday, we do have a meeting scheduled with Jay Rankins, who will facilitate that conversation with City Council, and Continuum Partners will be present. That's on Wednesday. Following direction that we receive from Council at that meeting, we'll do additional work leading up to that March 30th date where the conceptual site plan will be presented. Following that date, and Council had specifically requested that there be an option if Council wanted to not move forward in our partnership with Continuum Partners, that would be a point at which we could make that decision. And in that case, a piece that's built into this MOU extension includes that the city will reimburse Continuum Partners up to $20,000 for any work associated with infrastructure costs and review for the site. So you can see from March 30th leading up to when we'd bring a redevelopment agreement to Council for approval, that date's been identified as June 27th. So several steps between that March 30th date and the June 27th date. The MOU termination date is noted as July 11th. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room if we need to shift anything, but this timeline has been vetted with Continuum Partners, and Mark is with us on the call this evening. So feel free, if you have any questions for him, you can ask him any questions. But otherwise, this is the fourth MOU extension drafted based on council feedback in the recent executive session, and staff and Corey and I are here to answer any questions for you.
Well, I don't see any hands, but I did see Mark pop on. So welcome. Thank you for being here. I think per some of our previous discussions, I know I enjoyed my conversation last week with Jay, and I look forward to Wednesday. I think that'll be a really good meeting. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I do appreciate the timeline. That's very helpful. How are you feeling about those dates? Are those comfortable to you?
Is that directed to me, Mayor? Mark?
It is. It is.
Yeah, we did. We worked hard on those with staff, and you know, obviously we've been invested in this for quite a while now, and it would be good for us to be able to march towards commencement. And I do appreciate the benefit and the value of going back and revisiting the master plan. We're very supportive of this step.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other council members? You guys good? Okay. Joanna, please call the vote.
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Haramasa?
Yes.
CR 52 passes unanimously.
Thanks, Mark. See you
Okay,
later.
thanks, Mayor. All right. Bye, Heather.
Okay, CR 55. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution naming the new park to be located at 421 West 112th Avenue as the Odell Berry Park.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Amanda Peterson, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, is here to provide a summary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This resolution before you tonight is to name the park that we're currently identifying as Justice Center West Park, just based on location, as Odell Berry Park. Per the study session last week, you had the opportunity to hear from the DICE board, who initially brought that proposal forward to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board did have the opportunity to follow the process that's outlined in the current policy, which included a 90-day waiting period, seeking public input, and made a recommendation, a formal recommendation to support the naming of that space as Odell Berry Park, and identified that based on his contributions, that they were deemed to be extensive and substantial and met the qualifications to allow for that naming to move forward. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to respond to those.
Thank you. Councilmember Walker? I saw your hand.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So while Dub's contributions are incredible, and I don't want to overshadow that at all, because he set benchmarks not only professionally but personally that all of us can aspire to. I think this does present us an opportunity to look forward to council's process in our naming in the future. There are some issues that were brought up to the community or by the community to me, noting that not only did we pay top market dollar for this land, we actually overpaid for that, and so. There aren't many parks that are named like this that are bought and then named after someone after they turn a profit on the land. And so maybe in the future, this provides us a benchmark for us to discuss our policies on council for naming, including even things like possibly the land being gifted. And like I said, that sets us up for discussions in the future.
Thank you. Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yeah, I think that, Councilmember Walker had a great point when we talked about process. Definitely something I'd also like to look at moving forward. Another question that I have, and I'm just going to throw this out there. So the recommendation is to name the park Odell Berry Park. Should it be Odell Berry Memorial Park? I don't know. It just kind of, I just realized that maybe there should be a memorial in there. I don't know. Throwing that out there as a thought.
Amanda, did you want to respond to that?
It really is at the council's discretion. The Parks and Rec Advisory Board put the name Odell Berry Park out for your consideration, but you certainly have the opportunity to modify that. If you look at our other park names, there's really a combination of the use of the word memorial alongside a name or just a name as a standalone. So I don't think that there's a clear precedent and really would be at the discretion of the council.
Okay. So Councilmember Malika, was that a proposal? Did you want us to consider that?
Yeah, I mean, I would want to consider that, given that I think Odellberry Park is okay, but I think Odellberry Memorial Park sounds more appropriate given the situation for the individual. But maybe that maybe I'm alone, and that's okay.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you. It hadn't occurred to me to add the word memorial. I guess my thinking is, or at least it's a question, whether or not there would be some kind of a plaque or something that would kind of qualify as a memorial to Odellberry in this park. So if there was room for that or the possibility for that, like maybe something that just kind of said a little bit about who he was. I don't think I'm trying to think what we have at E.B. Rains. There is a plaque. I don't know how much information is on that, if that would be our model that we want to try to follow or what. That's just maybe just another thing to throw out there.
I'm wondering, Amanda, if we vote on this tonight, if the name can be adjusted in a slight way, because my sense is we need to reach out to the family and see if they have a preference one way or the other. I don't know if.
I believe based on the way the policy is written, if you vote to name the park after Odellberry, you can make an adjustment as to the exact phrasing based on input from the family.
Okay.
Or council members as you move forward.
Okay. I was wondering about the difference between E.B. Rains passing away while currently serving. If that's a distinction with some of the other parks, I don't know.
I'd have to go back and look at our naming history.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a trend that we can lean to. Because we really have a combination. We have E.B. Rains Junior Memorial Park, but then we have others that are simply the name of a former city council person or former active volunteer or former active board member, that some were named prior to their passing, some were named after, and generally haven't used memorial. But again, I don't think that's something that I don't think that's something that you can't do, or that there's a right or a wrong answer.
Is E.B. Rains, is that the only memorial park we have?
We also have the Don Ottoman Memorial Skate Park.
That's right.
And he had passed shortly before that opened.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Councilmember Witkovich?
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to also mention over here in Ward 1, we have Alvin B. Thomas Memorial Park.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we can revisit it if there needs to be an adjustment at a later time. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yeah.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa?
Yes.
CR 55 is approved unanimously.
All right, CR 56. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution repealing resolution number 22-09, series of 2022, based on the improving COVID-19 transmission rate in Adams County.
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, City Manager Geyer will provide a summary of this item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this item comes to you tonight a little bit different than past meetings where we've provided you with a memo and a lot of data. Rupa did pull up data as of today, so I'm happy to share that if you'd like that information in a couple minutes. Our city attorney advised that procedurally we should have council repeal the last resolution. So given the timing of all of this, if council does, based on discussion and direction tonight, want to resume in-person meetings on February 28th, we needed to put this resolution on tonight's meeting since it's such a quick turnaround time. So that is why this looks a little bit different. Council did in the past express interest in revisiting the discussion about electronic participation. And so that's a future discussion item that'll come back to council separate from this more immediate item that you're going to discuss this evening. So with that, if council would like to hear an update on Tri-County Health Department statistics, I'm happy to turn it over to Rupa to share that information with you tonight.
Well, I just wanted to clarify because I was confused when I saw it as a resolution because I thought at our last meeting, council said we would like to move the discussion from the 28th to today. So I just wanted to make sure that all of council was comfortable. Because we just had it as a discussion item on the 28th. So I didn't want people to think that we were making that decision. I don't know. It just felt awkward to me because I don't know. It felt like we moved too fast. So I wanted to make sure everyone was comfortable with that. The other thing I was wondering is if we go back to and I did pull the data myself because the memo didn't have any data, which did surprise me. So it looks like we are in better shape for sure. We were in the 30s and today we're at an 8.4% positivity rate for Adams County, which is much better than where we were when we made this decision initially. If I guess my assumption was if the 28th was the day that we were resuming in-person meetings, that was going to be the first day as opposed to tomorrow being the first day. So I just wanted to hear from council on that, just based on how the resolution was written. Did anyone want to weigh in? Mayor Pro Tem Wolford?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I realized that as a co-host, I can't raise my hand. So thanks for watching the screen. Yeah, I mean, I think the question I ultimately have is, moving forward, how are we going to measure, right, when we're moving back to virtual versus in person, right? Like, is there a across the board threshold that we're comfortable with? Or are we just kind of checking in on our own level of comfort? I mean, I guess that's one thing that's been on my mind as far as, meeting in person. I thought the first meeting would be February 28th, not tomorrow, but that's at least the understanding that I had.
I feel like people are pensive. Does anyone want to weigh in? Councilmember Goff.
All right, I guess I should say something. I guess the reason I hadn't jumped up to say something is that I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. So I'm willing to go along with, what the group as a whole would like to do. And I do see that our legal counsel has something that he wants to share with us that might change my mind, but that was all I was going to say.
Corey, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, certainly not to change anybody's mind, to just explain that certainly if council wants to commence in-person meetings on the 28th, we can make that amendment to the resolution. But the resolution would have expired by its own terms on the 28th, meaning a discussion on the 28th wouldn't have mattered other than going forward. So that's why the resolution was placed in your packet, because it expires automatically if nothing is done following the February 28th meeting. But if council desires to commence in person with February 28th, we could delete the date in the resolution and specify that it starts February 28th instead.
Okay. I was just going off the tentative future agendas, so it had it as a discussion item. So clearly I misunderstood that whole thing. So thank you. Councilmember Duran Malika.
Yeah, I'm okay with moving forward however council wants to go. If we want to meet in person on Wednesday or if we want to meet in person just starting the 28th, I'm okay either way. One of the things that this does bring up for me though is another question of we talked about previously, probably when we passed this resolution, bringing up our virtual meeting policy again, right? We talked about re-looking at that policy, changing it up, right? And there we still had you could only attend a virtual meeting 5 times or something like that. Because I think moving forward, we don't know what COVID is going to do next. There's always going to be new variants that come down the line, and we really don't know. And to be honest with you, I feel like that policy is going to allow members of council to be able to be flexible. One, no one should be attending meetings when they're sick, please. But two, if we do have an individual who, feels unsafe being on the dais because, it is pretty tight up there, or, has a medical condition where they feel like they shouldn't be up there, that virtual meeting policy is really what gives us and council members individual, choice in how you want to continue to represent your ward on this council. So I guess just a quick question to Heather, is that policy conversation coming up again soon? I know we talked about just not really enforcing the 5 meeting rules, but I feel like that policy conversation could really be just helpful in helping individuals navigate over this next year or so.
Yes, it's scheduled for March 14th, and it's 4 meetings based on the way the policy is currently written for non-emergency situations. So council provided direction for staff to look at that piece in particular in terms of the number of meetings. So okay. March 14th is when it comes back to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Councilmember Lubin Hiramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You asked for everyone to weigh in, so I will go ahead and weigh in. I think Councilmember Duran Malika pretty much said some of the things I was thinking in terms of our electronic policy, and that would fix a lot of this uncertainty because we really just are in this uncertain time and we keep changing to in-person and not in-person. So we'll have to keep discussing it. And I feel like that would help address some of that. I support what my fellow council members support. I did think that today's meeting was to be effective immediately because coming up on the 28th, it would have expired at the end of February anyway. So that was my understanding. I'm okay with going back in person. Honestly, I've had so many technology problems with crashing computers and internet. Just one of those things, but I also want to respect how other people feel, knowing that sometimes I'm around immunocompromised people and I have a condition as well, but I'm comfortable going back in person. And would like to support everything that Councilmember Duran Malika said in terms of, when we discuss that, but it's coming up. So I guess it'll be the chance to discuss it then. So I don't know if that helped, but I'm good to meet in person as of Wednesday. But if other members feel, strongly to wait, then that's okay with me too. Leaning towards in person, but I'm okay with virtual. Thank you.
I was just clarifying because I think I misunderstood. But I did want to point out that the last time we were in person, we were under a mask order. So that mask order has also been lifted. So I just want to make sure that people are comfortable with both of those things happening simultaneously because we wore masks for quite a few months. So just just making sure people remember that. And obviously masks are optional. If you still want to wear one, you certainly can. Did anyone else want to weigh in, or I just want to make sure everyone has a moment. We can just vote too, if that's easier. Okay, so we're clear. When I call the vote, we are voting for it to be repealed as of the end of this vote. Okay, Joanna, call the vote, please.
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mollica,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa.
Yes.
CR 56 passes unanimously.
Okay, I will now recess the regular city council meeting and call to order a meeting of the Marijuana Licensing Authority. Joanna, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Here.
Councilmember Walker,
Here.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Here.
Councilmember Brown is absent, Councilmember Jaramillo,
Here.
Councilmember Duran Mollica,
Here.
Councilmember Goff,
Here.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, please call the vote.
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mollica,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa.
Yes.
The January 24th minutes are approved unanimously.
Okay, CR 51. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution making findings of fact in support of the decision to grant a new retail marijuana store license to Discreet Greens LLC.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, City Attorney Hoffman is here to provide a summary.
Thank you, and good evening again, Madam Mayor, members of council. Under the city's licensing process, this is the final step after the council has given direction on whether to approve or deny a marijuana license. And this resolution attempts to summarize the basis for the city council's approving the application following the hearing that was conducted on January 24th, and it identifies all of the criteria that had to be met and attempts to match it to the evidence that was presented. And so if this resolution is approved, it is the final step in granting the local license so that the applicant would be able to go forward in ultimately opening their store after they complete the construction and everything else that goes with the process.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Corey? Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mollica,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa.
Yes.
CR 51 is approved unanimously.
Okay, I will now adjourn the meeting of the Marijuana Licensing Authority and reconvene the regular city council meeting. We are rounding out with public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and comments must be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. If there's anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council, please press *6 to unmute yourself at this time. Okay, hearing none. There being no further business, we are adjourned.